Bismillah, walhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man wala. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I welcome everyone to our Helping Hand webinar for plant giving. So today, inshallah, we will be talking about a very new initiative that Helping Hand is rolling out, in which we will help our donors create a legacy. In essence, we are helping our donors impact the world after they have passed away. But before we talk about this program, and we have three guests today that will enlighten us about this program, I wanted to begin by reciting a few verses of the Quran from Surah At-Tawbah, verses 71 and 72, in which Allah describes some of the characteristics of the believers and the reward. Then we'll have a short video, very short video, and we'll begin our program. So let me begin with the recitation of the Quran by saying, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. والمؤمنون والمؤمنات بعضهم أولياء بعض يأمرون بالمعروف وينهون عن المنكر ويقيمون الصلاة ويؤتون الزكاة ويطيعون الله ورسوله أولئك سيرحمهم الله إن الله عزيز حكيم وعد الله المؤمنين والمؤمنات جنات تجري من تحتها الأنهار خالدين فيها ومساكن طيبة في جنات عدن ورضوان من الله أكبر ذلك هو الفوز العظيم. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, the believing men and the believing women are supporters, allies of one another. They enjoin what is right and forbid what is wrong, and establish prayer and give zakah and obey Allah and His Messenger. Those Allah will have mercy upon them. Indeed, Allah is exalted in might and wise. Allah has promised to the believers, men and women, gardens under which rivers flow to dwell therein forever, and beautiful mansions in Garden of Eden. But the greatest bliss is the attainment of Allah's good pleasure. That is supreme success. So with that, inshallah, we'll watch a short video and we will begin our program, inshallah. Okay, assalamu alaikum again. Now we want to welcome our first guest, the director of Planned Given, the one who's running this program. And he's been with Helping Hand for 10 years. He's been a regional manager. He's worked in the Department of Development. And now, as I mentioned, he's the director of Planned Given. I also want to point out that he is a certified fundraiser as well. So, Brother Humayun, take it away.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Jazakallah khair for Sheikh Jesse. First of all, I would like to thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and make dua for all of us that He's given us the opportunity to serve Him and help the humanity for the better cause. I'm thankful to Sister Fatma, Brother Abid, Sheikh Jesse, and numerous staff members who have helped us to get to this level where we are today. Today, we are going to launch a new program. I'm going to start by telling a story, which I'm sure you all have gone through a similar story in your life that way. While I was a child, I remember stepping my foot in the pool to learn swimming. I was so terrified. First of all, there was a lot of water. It was dark and it was cold. I always stayed towards the shallow side, didn't want it to go towards the dark because I couldn't see what's there and what not. As the summer progressed, we were encouraged to go towards the deep end. We went there, we learned how to survive in the deep water. And since then, I hung out in that area because it was more fun, more enjoyable by going underwater, looking under the water, what it is, touching the bottom of the floor of the pool and things like that. Why I am telling this is because the program we are launching, it's planned giving. It's a very complex, but yet very simple program. Unless and until we know, we study, we think it's a lot. A lot of nonprofits I have spoken to, philanthropists who have thought of doing planned giving, but they shy away from it. They just stay towards one of the programs, which is endowment, which is easier run, where you collect the money, you build the amount, you build the fund, and then you benefit from the fruit it gives you. Planned giving is just like the way the name sounds, is you are planning your giving for the future. So most of these gifts comes after life. It involves writing a will and your estate plan and naming a charity, if you choose to, as a beneficiary from your fund. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has encouraged us in the Sharia that we are allowed to give 1/3 of our charity to the non-profits, to the poor, to the needy. So you can choose either or, any of the organization, or you choose not to give. But our goal here is to educate you all on various channels of planned giving. If we would have done it ourselves, it would have taken us years to going through schools, learning through it, and it changes day and night because it bases on tax law. So basically, planned giving has two benefits. Number one, it saves tax. And number two, it gives gifts on your investment. Put it that way, simple as that. If you just remember these two, that helps you out. And to get that going, we have partnered with numerous sisters and brothers and organizations to help us with that. Namely, there are the two main organizations we have today is Sister Fatma Iqbal representing Azad Asset Management, who are managing our endowment fund, which we have established, alhamdulillah, and Brother Abid Awad, who's the founder of Sharia Viz, who's going to educate and help us write our wills and state a lot easier than we ever thought that we can write a will. So Jazakallah khair. All this information is available on our website at hhrd.org/plan giving, just like it says on the bottom of the screen. So you are always welcome to go stroll through it, reach out to me, reach out to our staff, and we will connect you with one of the professionals as need basis, inshallah. Jazakallah khair for coming along with us on this journey. And Jazakallah khair for giving us the opportunity to help the needy on your behalf all over the globe. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I really appreciate that explanation. And this is very exciting. And as you mentioned, we have partnered with other organizations to help us in this endeavor. And you mentioned there are many complex aspects of plant giving, but it's a wonderful opportunity because, again, we are planning for the future. Obviously, we all are living for what is after life, right? And we want to invest in this life greatly. And so we're very excited that Helping Hand will be able to make sure that long after we have departed this world, inshallah, that we will still be able to touch and impact and affect the world in a good way. And this is no doubt a tremendous blessing. And for many of us, or perhaps all of our donors, can participate in some way, perhaps in this plant giving. But let us turn over to our first guest, and Sister Fatima Iqbal. And I'll give you a brief bio of her, and mashallah, very accomplished. But Sister Fatima Iqbal is an investment advisor and senior financial planner with Azad Asset Management. She graduated from Cornell University with a degree in applied economics and management and earned a master's in finance from Rochester Institute of Technology. She is a certified financial planner and has extensive training on issues pertaining to halal investing and Islamic inheritance and estate planning. She specializes in planned charitable giving that incorporates traditional Islamic charitable concepts in modern America. Sister Fatima provides comprehensive financial planning services, including retirement, college, and estate planning. And lastly, she lives in the suburbs of Chicago with her husband and children. And besides her work as an advisor, she serves as a director of the Diwan Foundation, a nonprofit organization committed to supporting and improving Muslim life at Cornell University. Welcome, Sister Fatima.
Jazakallah khair, Sheikh Jesse. I'm so happy to be with everyone today, and inshallah, hope to provide some helpful information on planned giving. So first of all, congratulations on taking a Sunday afternoon to sit down and learn about planned charitable giving. Inshallah, today I'm actually going to be sharing some ideas with you that can hopefully help you align your planned giving, hopefully with some other goals that you have as a family, as an individual, and also help you on that tax planning side. So when we think about amplifying our giving, alhamdulillah, we all have good intentions. We want to be able to give. We want to be able to give as much as we can. And that's what planned charitable giving is all about. How can we amplify our giving with the amount of resources that we have? Now, there's two ways typically that you can give. One is doing what we're talking about today, doing your planned giving to organizations that are important to you. And that's what we talk about when we talk about controlling our social wealth. Either we can choose where we want our social wealth to go, choosing charitable organizations that do the kind of work that we believe in, and we get a tax deduction for that or tax benefits for that. And if we don't, then of course those funds go towards taxes, and of course the government then directs those social dollars. So here we have a great opportunity. We need to make sure that we understand how to control our social wealth. So inshallah, today I'm going to talk about a few ideas that you can use. Again, many of these can help you during your own personal financial planning. One, we'll be talking about giving through assets. How can you give through an IRA, through appreciated securities, and through donor-advised funds? I'll also briefly cover planned gifts, which you can give through beneficiary designations and a will. And finally, go over some charitable trust ideas like a charitable lead trust. So let's first talk about giving through an IRA. Now, an IRA is an individual retirement account. This is an account that many people contribute funds to over their lifetime, either on an annual contribution or maybe through their 401k. And after they move on, they will roll those funds, those pre-tax retirement funds, into an IRA or individual retirement account. Now, once you're at the age of 72, you have to start doing required minimum distributions. Basically, the IRS is saying you've been able to put all this money in pre-tax over all these years, and now that you're 72, you need to start taking some of that money out and paying taxes. So let's assume that now you're over age 72 and you have to start taking these required minimum distributions. If you don't, the IRS will actually penalize you at 50%. Now, when you withdraw this hard-earned money, you're going to have to pay income taxes on it. But let's say you, alhamdulillah, have sufficient income, or maybe you only need part of that distribution to meet your own personal goals and your own personal expenses. What can you do to help avoid taxes, fulfill this requirement and avoid the 50% penalty, but now also support the charity of your choice? Here we have a great opportunity with what is called a qualified charitable distribution. With a qualified charitable distribution, you can actually take your required minimum distribution up to $100,000 and give it directly to charity and avoid paying income tax. Now here I'm showing you two options. Let's look at option one first. In option one, we would withdraw the RMD first to ourselves and then donate. So let's take, for example, that the required minimum distribution is $100,000. We'll keep it simple for numbers' sake. Now, if we were in a very high tax bracket, let's say you're in the 37% tax bracket, that means that you're going to be paying $37,000 on that withdrawal. Of course, that would leave you with $63,000 that you can now give to charity, and you can take that charitable deduction of $63,000. Now, and taking that deduction would probably give you an estimated tax savings around $23,000. Now, let's say instead you used option two, which is again using the qualified charitable distribution, where you donate your required minimum distribution directly to Helping Hand. In this case, you would not pay any income tax on that $100,000 donation. You also would not take a deduction in this case, because again, this is pre-tax money that you're giving directly to charity, so you're not allowed to take a deduction. But because you avoided paying income tax, you can now see that your estimated tax savings is almost $37,000. So with this technique, you're able to take the same amount of resources and amplify the amount of giving that you're able to do. Just remember, in order to be able to use this technique, you must directly transfer funds from the IRA directly to the charity. You have to be at least 70 and a half to do this. And whatever amount that you do take from the account and towards the charity, it will go towards satisfying that required minimum distribution if you're over the age of 72. But the maximum amount that you can donate through an IRA is $100,000 per person. So next, let's go into another idea for plan giving, which is giving through appreciated securities. Now, I know most of us are typically used to donating cash, and that's great, but you should be aware that you may have another resource which may again allow you to amplify your giving. Now, let's say you have purchased some stocks, maybe 10 years ago at $15,000, and those shares have now appreciated to $50,000. Again, let's assume that you're going to be having to pay some tax on that, some capital gains tax on that, if you sell those stocks. So what can you do in order to avoid that taxation and again being able to amplify your giving? Here, if we look at option one, this is where you would sell that stock and then donate the net proceeds. So again, if you had stocks that you bought at $15,000, they are now at $50,000, you pull out, you make a sale, you withdraw the funds, that would incur long-term capital gains taxes. Again, that rate can typically be 15% or up to 23.8% if you're in the highest bracket. So if you're in that highest bracket, you would be paying about $8,330 in taxes. So the remaining amount, which is about $41,670, you can donate. And again, that would satisfy a donation. But let's take the idea of donating that stock directly to charity. In this case, that $15,000 that you put into the stock and is now valued at $50,000 can be transferred directly to the charity in kind. This would help you avoid paying any long-term capital gains, and it would also allow you to take a deduction based on the market value of the share as long as you held the share for at least 1 year. Here again, you can see now we're amplifying your personal income tax savings, and you've been able to donate more. So this strategy can work for individual stocks or mutual funds. Again, it can help you avoid paying capital gains taxes. It can allow you to take the deduction of the full market value of your shares. And here you've now had greater impact by giving from your appreciated shares, maybe more than what if you had given through your cash. So remember, you've put in $15,000, which has resulted in a donation of $50,000 with no extra taxes paid. Another option that is also great, especially as we get close to the end of the year, is giving through donor-advised funds. Now, a donor-advised fund is a charitable entity that you can use, and when you give your funds to a donor-advised fund, you'll be able to take a deduction in the year that you make the contribution. However, once the funds are in the donor-advised funds, they can be invested so that they can grow tax-free. And at any time in the future, you can then create grants to various different organizations and charities that are important to you. So with this technique, you're able to, again, be able to take advantage of a tax deduction in a year when you need it. So as we're getting close to the end of the year, many of you maybe have already given the charity and the donations that you had planned to give for the year, either to fulfill your zakah or to maybe support the different work that you see going on. But let's say you're sitting down now with your financial advisor or your accountant, and you see that really this year could benefit you to be able to have additional deductions to take. Now, this would be a great tool to use where you can, again, contribute funds to the donor-advised fund, be able to get the tax deduction this year as long as the contribution is made before December 31st, but again, be able to give those charitable dollars to organizations anytime in the future. So this type of technique, the donor-advised fund, works very similar to a private foundation, but it doesn't have the legal, administrative, and accounting costs that can go with creating your own foundation. So this can allow you to fast forward those tax deductions into the year that you contribute to the fund, again, aligning your giving with your tax planning. It can allow you to invest it and grow it tax-free, and again, make grants to charities of your choice in the future. The other benefit of using a donor-advised fund is that you, again, can name your fund. So you can, again, name it based on your family. You can give it a unique name. You can then give in the name of your fund or give anonymously. So it gets you a lot more control and flexibility in terms of how that gift or what that gift is recognized as whenever it's donated. Talking about planned gifts, and inshallah, Brother Abid will be going to this a little bit more in detail. But just so you're aware, whenever you have certain accounts or assets, they often can have a beneficiary designation. This can be the case for investment accounts, insurance policies, 401k accounts, and of course, whenever you name a beneficiary for these types of assets, you can also name a charity. You can also name a charity as a beneficiary in your estate plan, in your will, which again, Brother Abid will be talking about. And you can also use charitable trusts. Now, charitable trusts come in many different designs and flavors. Two common types of trusts are charitable remainder trusts and charitable lead trusts. But for the interest of time, we're only going to go through the charitable lead trust concept right now. A charitable remainder trust can also be beneficial and kind of works almost backwards to what a charitable lead trust does. So let's say, again, you're in a situation where you have a certain assets that that are important for you. You want to be able to give, but of course, we all also have our personal financial goals. Maybe we are planning for our children's education. Maybe we're planning for our own retirements. Maybe we anticipate needing to take care of our elderly parents in the future. And of course, these are all goals which sometimes feel like they might coincide with our charitable giving wishes. So a charitable lead trust is a great technique that you can use to help align those financial goals you have personally with your charitable giving. So let's go through an example. Hopefully that will help explain this a little bit more. So let's again assume that you are in a high income tax bracket and you want to get the most out of your deductions this year. You anticipate that you have high income And again, maybe this is a unique year where you're going to have a sale of a business, or you've sold some property, or it's just been a good year in terms of revenue or bonus for you. And in this example, let's talk about perhaps giving excess money that you have to commit to annual funds to charity that you want to support. But again, remembering that you might need this money, let's say in 10 years, when you retire or when your kids go to college or some other event that you might be planning for. The way that a charitable lead trust works is it is a trust that is created that you can fund in a particular year. Now, when you make that contribution to this type of trust, to a charitable lead trust that is a grantor trust, you will be able to take an income tax deduction upfront in the year that you make the contribution. So just like a donor advised fund, we're talking about accelerating deductions into a year where it can benefit you, where it's important for you. With this type of trust, you can then name a charity or multiple charities, or leave it flexible in terms of which charities will receive the funds, and those charities will receive those funds over a certain number of years. So let's say you want to name Helping Hand as a charitable beneficiary to receive from this trust over the next 10 years. In this case, that trust will be preserved exclusively for the benefit of that Helping Hands distribution over 10 years. Now, this way you can feel assured that, if something happens to you, your charity has already been planned for. You've already taken care of that. You don't have to worry that, okay, I made a commitment to sponsor an orphan. How am I going to make sure that that continues to happen? You have a charitable lead trust that will continue to provide that amount of funds to the organization for a determined time period. Now, the other advantage of this trust is that when we give to charity, typically we give it outright without any potential benefit coming back to ourselves other than maybe an income tax deduction. With this type of trust, at the end of the term, any remainder that is left can come back to benefit yourself and your family. So again, remember when I was talking about, okay, maybe in 10 years, my kids are going to go to college, or I'm going to retire. With this type of planning, you can allow for your charity to be benefited for a set number of years, but the remainder to come back to you, again, to fulfill those needs that you might have for yourself or your own family. So let's take an example of a grantor charitable lead annuity trust that is funded with $200,000. And let's say we fund this for this type of trust and create it for 10 years. When you donate that $200,000 into this type of charitable lead trust, you will be able to get an upfront tax deduction. Now, the tax deduction is based on various different calculations, but again, to keep things simple, let's assume it's going to be around $160,000. So you've put in $200,000. Now you get to take a deduction of $160,000, again, in a year where it's going to be beneficial to you. Over the next 10 years, if you set this up as a 10% annuity trust, you will be contributing $20,000 to charity every year for 10 years. So over those 10 years, you will be giving that full $200,000 to the organization. Now, at the end of the 10 years, whatever is remaining comes back to you. And this can be dependent on the market performance and various other factors. But assuming an 8% net rate of return, we could estimate that maybe about $140,000 would come back to you. So again, talking about how we can amplify our giving with the resources we have. This $200,000 created an upfront tax deduction of about $160,000, still gave $200,000 over 10 years, and also had a remainder of about $140,000 that potentially comes back to help support our own families at the end of the term. So again, this can be a great strategic way to make sure that you amplify your giving and also align it with your tax planning goals and your personal financial goals. Inshallah, we'll be able to talk about this more, but at Azad, we are able to help you create an illustration to understand exactly how this would work for you. Also be able to discuss and implement an investment strategy that is Sharia compliant and well diversified. And also, again, help connect you with charitable lead trust administrators, since this is a trust and it would need to be administered on an annual basis. So with that, I appreciate the time, and I'll turn it back, inshallah, to Sheikh Jesse.
Jazakumullah khairan. Alhamdulillah, you made it very simple for us. So we truly appreciate that. And This is our first webinar, but hopefully we'll have more webinars. I think more will be needed and more programs. And then perhaps even more interactive programs where you can ask questions. I know we talked about that this time around, but hopefully next time we can ask questions. And no doubt this is a great service. So Jazakumullahu khairan again. And before we turn the microphone over to our next speaker, we wanted to show you a very short video.
Planned giving is a form of giving, which is a donated planned gift. It has to be planned a little bit more by the donor to be given to us at a later date. It's basically part of including helping hand as a beneficiary in their wills and states. So the gift is after your life.
Yes.
Most of those gifts comes after the life, but there are some gifts which can which can come us during their donor's life.
Yes.
So that's our goal is to sustain our organization so we can be stronger and we don't worry about it. Where is the money coming in to pay to Humayun or to pay to XYZ?
Right.
So when the donor gives us, all that fund will go to our field, inshallah. You can always visit our website, hhrd.org/plannedgiving.
Okay, Bismillah. Our next speaker is Brother Abid Awad, and he will be talking about Islamic wills. Brother Abid Awad is a founding partner of Awad and Khoury, LLP. It's located in New Jersey. His practice is in the New Jersey, New York area, and it focuses on complex family law, Sharia compliant estate planning, Islamic wills, and Islamic trusts, awqaf, waqf, Islamic law, and business. Brother Awad has native fluency in the Arabic language and is an international expert in Islamic law and the laws of Muslim countries. Brother Awad has testified, consulted, and or provided expert reports for courts and attorneys throughout the United States, Canada, the United Kingdom, and Singapore concerning interpretations and application of Sharia and the laws of Muslim countries. Brother Awad is the founder and CEO of ShariaWiz.com, an award-winning online Islamic estate planning portal for American Muslims. Welcome, Brother Awad.
Thank you very much, Sheikh Jesse, for that introduction, and thank you for my fellow panelist, Mr. Kabir and Sister Fatima. I'm going to show you what Brother Kabir and Fatima talked about, how you can actually implement it online smoothly and in an affordable way. But before, I would like to share my screen. So I want to make sure that I have the ability to share my screen. And it appears that I am able to. So let me share it. Do you see my screen now? Do you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Well, just really fast, a comment here is that this planned giving, every major university and foundation in the United States is funded, is sustained, not by individual contributions in your lifetime, but by planned giving and by donations and legacies left in wills, whether it's Harvard, whether it's Princeton, whether it's Yale, whether it's the Rockefellers or whether it's the Ford Foundation. Every major organization is funded by this planned giving. And what is ironic in this situation is that this concept of planned giving was institutionalized in part and parcel of the Muslim tradition. The concept of the waqf, which is similar to a trust in common law. In fact, the American version, the common law version, the British version of a trust has its lineage to Islamic law. This was documented by many scholars that through Sicily, the Normandies were able to identify some of these instruments and institutions that were created by the Muslim scholars and transplanted it into their common law system. The history of the waqf, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that when a person passes away, only three things remain: a righteous child who prays for his parents, a knowledge that continues to give and educate the ummah, or a sadaqah jariyah that continues to give. So our Prophet from inception had advocated and explained to us the importance of the sadaqah jariyah. And the sadaqah jariyah is important is not only that you're giving to the poor, it's actually building the Muslim civil society. It's part of institution building. And this is one thing that our Muslim organizations like Helping Hands and other organizations, they need to be sustained because they are the dynamic civil society of the Muslim American community. And how can we do that? Is by giving a sadaqah jariyah. So I created this particular website called Sharia Wiz. It's a estate planning platform. It's a Sharia compliant estate planning platform. It's a platform about Islam in America. And the objective is to create this as a planned giving virtual department for our community to sustain our organizations. And at the same time, you will fulfill your faith and protect your family. I'm going to show you how easy it is to create your Islamic will and leave a legacy to Helping Hands. So you create an account. It'll take you 2 minutes. Your name and your state. Welcome. And you will start your Islamic will. Here are the questions that you're going to see. Are you married? And each question has an explanation. So anything you didn't understand, we teach you and educate you about the process. Is your spouse Muslim? If she is not, there's some implications in the inheritance. Do you have children? Yes. Do you have any of them that are adopted or outside of marriage or stepchildren? These will implicate the Islamic inheritance. And we provide solutions for all of this through the platform. Now we're going to get into your family tree because we're going to do your Islamic inheritance. You pick the school of law that you belong to. Let's do Hanafi. You enter the name of your spouse. You date a marriage if you're married. If your father is alive, if you said that your father is not alive, it's going to ask you a question about your grandfather. If you ask what is your grandfather's name, you're going to get all of these answers that are going to be simple. How many sons, how many daughters, and you're going to have the breakdown of your Islamic inheritance. We have proprietary software that actually codified and coded the Islamic laws of inheritance to make it simple. You can answer the most complex family survivorships in seconds on this platform. You continue to your will. Do you have a daughter? After you finish, you're going to be asked if you live in a property, a community property state. You will be asked about your assets, but the community property states are only like Texas, California. There are a few states, so you will skip all these questions, for example, if you lived in New York or in Virginia or in Maryland. So I'm answering no to these to expedite the process because they would not appear in most cases. Next, you have to do your debts. Huquq Allah come first, whether there's a zakat, whether there is, you want somebody to perform the Hajj for you, or you want to pay a nizr that you did. How do you want to pay for it? How about any kaffarat? So all huquq Allah are covered here. We also have religious obligations to your spouse. These are options. These are not mandatory. You can grant your wife or your spouse a life estate. For example, when you pass away, do you want the house to be sold and distributed to the kids? Or do you want the marital residence to remain with the surviving spouse until that surviving spouse passes away? This is permitted under Islamic law, and we're able to allow you to implement this in your will. You could increase your wife's mahr. If you owe her some mahr, that's going to be paid off the top of your gross estate. If you owe her any money, if she's contributed to the marital estate, if she worked, These are things that you could acknowledge in your will. So as you can see, I'm giving you an outline, but you'll see each of these questions. Most of us in our community, we take money from our brother, from our uncle to put a down payment on a business, on a down payment on a house. So we should always acknowledge these debts in our will. And the Sharia Wiz platform will allow you to do that. The next section would be about bequests. You can leave a bequest to a relative or a friend or an adopted children or a child born out of wedlock or non-Muslim children or non-Muslim relatives. Or you could leave it to charitable organizations. So as you can see, then we would get into the section about your estate management. So in the bequest section, you will be asked, do you want to leave a charitable bequest to Helping Hands? And you would say yes, because we all want to support our organization. You could leave a percentage, you could leave a dollar amount, you could leave a property to sustain and continue the charitable and humanitarian mission and work that Helping Hand does. And it's a sadaqah jariyah that'll continue to give you jaza, a lot of good deeds and so forth. You pick who's going to be your executor. If you have young children, you'll pick who the guardian will be, when the children will take their money, your burial and autopsy. You want to make sure you're going to be buried Islamically. All of this is covered in the platform. And of course, every Islamic will, every legacy has your voice. This is what your voice to the world. You are placing everybody on notice on that day when you pass away, and they're going to read your will to all of the beneficiaries. This is your moment to tell them about any further instructions or wishes. You want to tell your kids, or you want to tell your parents or your friends. Tell them about their religious obligations, their charitable obligations, how to be a good family. It's your voice, and you're able to do that in this application. You get 400 words to explain what your final instructions to your family is. And that's it. You're done with your will. It's that simple and that fast. It takes a couple of seconds to generate the document. You get to review this document. Everything I did now, you can do before you pay a penny, before you put a credit card on the platform. We're a Sharia compliant project, and Sharia provides transparency. We do not want anyone to purchase anything from this platform if they are not satisfied with it, if they don't get a chance to see it. So you only pay if you like the document and you want to print it. So you get to read your entire will. As you can see from here, you will see your entire will, and you would review it and make sure everything is correct and you're comfortable with it. If you saw something that you want to edit, you would click on the edit section, and you can go to whatever section of your will to make your edits. And after that, you pay. You'll go back to your dashboard, and you have all your documents there. Not only do you get your Islamic will, you're also going to get your healthcare directive, your living will that is Sharia compliant, telling your family that I selected my spouse, my older son, to be my medical proxy, and I have instructed my physicians to comply with the Sharia when it comes to my end-of-life decisions. You also have a HIPAA authorization, so your family are not going to have to go through courts and so forth to get access to your medical records, and a power of attorney. This entire package, including the Islamic Inheritance Appendix, and here you also would receive an elective share waiver or community property agreement, which clarifies that the parties, husband and wife, are agreeing to be bound by the Sharia and not by state law. This is a state-specific elective share waiver or community property agreement. All of this entire package is for $199, and you will have unlimited updates for life. So this is showing you how easy it is for you to leave your legacy and leave your stamp behind, and touching your family and touching people who are in need with the support of Helping Hands, Relief, and other Muslim organizations. So I think this kind of gives you the big picture, and I'm happy to answer any questions or any follow-ups. Thank you.
MashaAllah. Very, very wonderful, amazing work. And I think truly this is an asset, something that we hear all the time when we go to the masjid, that we need to have an Islamic wheel. And when we go to the doctor, we need to have a health directive. We need these things. I mean, they're essential. And may Allah reward you and Sister Fatima and Helping Hand for this work that we are, inshallah, providing for the community. And as I mentioned, inshallah, we will definitely be doing more webinars and hopefully also reaching out in regional areas. And we really want to provide this service because it is a service that is needed. And I thank you, Brother Abid and Sister Fatima, Brother Humayun, and ask everyone to stay informed. Again, remember that you can find out more information about plant giving at www.helpinghand.org/plant giving. Very simple, and it's just starting. And this is something that I'm very, very excited about. And I look forward to working with all of you even closer. And with that, inshallah, we will close. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa ant astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. We thank everyone for attending, and assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.